"You're too cheap for the life I deserve," my girlfriend said after dumping me to teach me a lesson because I refused to fund her luxury lifestyle. Then she panicked and begged when I didn't chase her. My ex thought a relationship was like a credit card. The more I earned, the more she could spend. The day I canceled the limit, she canceled the relationship. It was the only fair charge she ever made. I'm Elvis, I'm 27 years old, and I was in a relationship with my girlfriend Lydia, 25, for almost 4 years. I've never written anything like this, but I don't know what to think anymore, and I need an outside perspective because I feel like I'm too emotionally involved to see things clearly. I'll get straight to the point because I don't want to beat around the bush. In the last few weeks, my relationship stopped feeling like my relationship. Lydia started behaving in a way I don't understand, and that attitude left me confused, exhausted, and worried about the future we were supposedly building. Lydia works as a wedding and event planner. I'm an architect. We have different schedules, different lifestyles, but we always manage to complement each other well, at least until recently. We've been living together for 2 years in a small, comfortable apartment, with enough space for each of us to have our own routine. From the beginning, we agreed to divide the expenses proportionally to each other's income because it seemed the fairest. At that time, we earned practically the same, so we decided that I would pay 60% and she 40%. It worked for a long time without any conflict, but 3 months ago, I received a pay raise. It wasn't anything exaggerated, but enough to improve my savings and think a little more about the future. That raise changed something in Lydia, and since then nothing has been the same. I remember the day I told her. We were having dinner at home, something simple, pasta and salad. I told her that at work they had recognized my performance on a project and gave me a raise. Her first reaction was positive. She congratulated me, smiled, and said I deserved it. But that joy lasted less than 2 minutes. As soon as she finished eating, she put her cutlery on the plate, looked at me with a serious expression and said, "That's great. Then now you can pay 80% of the expenses and I'll pay 20%. I thought it was a joke. It took me a while to realize she wasn't smiling. "Are you serious?" I asked. "Of course, you earn more. That means you can contribute more. It's logical." I felt a knot in my stomach. Not because I didn't want to help her, but because I had already thought about how I would use that money. I wanted to save for a house. Buying our own place was a dream we had, or at least that's what I thought. We always talked about it as something ours. "Love," I said calmly, "I'd like to save that money for the house. Besides, I already pay more than you. I don't see why I should have to cover almost everything alone. What would you use the money you'd save for if I paid 80%? She propped her elbows on the table and sighed as if my question were absurd. "Oh, girl stuff. I think I've worked a lot, and I deserve a break and some pampering. Actually, you should be buying me that pampering. Or don't you want your woman to be happy?" I was quiet for a few seconds, not because I didn't know what to answer, but because I didn't understand how she could say that so naturally. Lydia had never been like that. She was always responsible, careful with money, and when we talked about the future, she said that saving was important. "If we want something serious," I said, "we both need to save. There will be time for pampering and luxuries." And that's when everything exploded. She frowned and started saying that I was stingy, that I didn't know how to enjoy life, that she was tired of living by cutting expenses, and that if I earned more it was logical that I should pay more. The argument lasted almost an hour, and in the end, she simply went to sleep without saying anything else. The following days were a silent hell. She barely spoke to me. When I asked her something, she answered with monosyllables. If I tried to bring up the subject again to clarify, she would say she didn't want to argue and that she had already made it clear what she thought. The worst of all is that every time I tried to show my point of view, she played the victim, as if I were a tormentor denying her basic needs instead of trying to plan a future together. During that time, I started to notice other strange behaviors. Lydia started buying things she didn't need: clothes, perfumes, accessories, even new decorations for the apartment. They weren't huge purchases, but they were frequent. When I asked her if she was sure she wanted to spend so much, she answered irritably that she deserved some pampering and that it wasn't my business, except that it was my business, because we lived together and because every time she spent on unnecessary things she would then complain that she didn't have enough for her personal expenses, hinting again that I should cover more. I feel like the person I met 4 years ago is no longer here. And the worst part is I don't know if she changed suddenly or if I simply hadn't seen who she really was. The critical point came a few days ago when I tried to have a serious conversation with her. I told her that our relationship wasn't right, that her attitude was affecting me, that we needed to agree on a clear financial plan, especially if we wanted to buy a house in the relatively near future. I didn't say it aggressively. I said it with concern and with love. Her reaction was completely unexpected. She got up from the sofa, looked at me with contempt, and said, "Sometimes I think you're getting too big for your britches. I should break up with you to see if that makes you value what you have." I thought it was an empty threat, a phrase said in the heat of anger, but I was wrong. "I don't understand what you mean," I replied. "Exactly that," she said. "I feel like you need a lesson. Let's see if that makes you stop being so stingy." And then she repeated, "A lesson." I don't know if she said it to manipulate me out of immaturity or because she really believes that a relationship is a prize or a punishment she can grant depending on my behavior. What I do know is that it hurt me much more than I imagined. I asked her not to say things like that if she really didn't want to be with me anymore, we should talk like adults. But she insisted. She said she wouldn't break up with me for real, that she just wanted to give me a scare to see if I would change my attitude and agree to pay more. That night we slept in the same bed, but each with our backs to the other. The next day she left for work early and didn't message me all day. That's when I started to wonder if it was really worth continuing to fight for this. I love her, yes, but I'm also starting to see signs I didn't see before. Emotional manipulation, financial immaturity, and a rather distorted idea of what it means to build something together. That's why I'm here writing this. I don't know what to do. I've never been in a relationship this long or this serious. I don't want to make an impulsive decision, but I also don't want to stay in a relationship that wears me down. I know it sounds bad, but Lydia wastes her money. She spends without thinking, without planning, without considering the consequences. And when the money isn't enough, she expects me to be the one to solve everything. I didn't grow up like that. I was taught to save, to plan, to think about the future. I don't understand how she can be so different from the person she claimed to be at the beginning. My question for you is simple, but important to me. Am I exaggerating? Is this normal in a relationship? What should I do? I don't want this post to be an attack against her. I just want to understand if I'm being unfair or if I'm really seeing warning signs. Update 1. It's been 2 weeks since my last post, and I honestly thought things with Lydia would improve with a little space, communication, and calm, but the opposite happened. Everything became more tense, more uncomfortable, and more exhausting. I want to explain something that happened a few days ago, because it was the moment I really felt that something broke between us. It's a perfect example of what I'm going through. Since we've been living together, we have a habit we really liked. Going out once a week to a nice place for dinner, not necessarily expensive, just a restaurant where we could disconnect, talk about the week, and feel like we were on a real date, without screens or distractions. It was a special moment, something we both appreciated. This week, when she asked where we were going for dinner on the weekend, I was excited to resume that tradition, so I responded with enthusiasm. I said, "I was thinking this weekend we could have a date here at home, watch the movies we've been meaning to, buy some snacks, and for food, I was thinking about double Western bacon cheeseburgers. They're your favorites, right?" I said it sincerely. She loves those burgers, and honestly, I also needed a financial break after the argument about the raise and her constant demands. I thought she would smile, or at least consider the idea, but she rolled her eyes with a disgusted expression. "Really, the more a man earns, the stingier he becomes," she said without a second thought. "Dinner here at home, watching a movie. What are we? High school sweethearts. You have more money now. You should be pampering me by taking me to Vicentelo's restaurant, maybe." That restaurant, for those who don't know, is practically the most expensive in the city. Each dish costs several times more than a normal dinner. Even a simple dessert there costs what a normal dinner would in any other place. I answered calmly, "You know that restaurant is super expensive, right? With what we would spend there, we could go out 3 more times." She didn't say anything at first, just looked at me and smiled as if she had a brilliant idea. "Well," she said, "what if we go shopping then? I saw some beautiful dresses and I'm sure you'd like to see me in them." That's when I realized it wasn't about the dinner. It was something deeper. She was looking for me to spend. It didn't matter on what. "Love, you know we're saving," I replied. She crossed her arms. "Come on, you can pay in interest-free installments. You won't even notice you bought it." I felt frustrated, but I tried to negotiate the situation. I didn't want another fight. I didn't want another day full of ironic comments and uncomfortable silence. I know it may sound weak. Maybe it was a submissive man's act, but I agreed to go see the dress. I thought that buying one might calm her down a bit, or at least show that I'm not closed off to pampering her from time to time. The dress, honestly, was beautiful and very expensive, but I paid for it. I don't want to lie, it hurt to spend that amount, but I did it with the hope that it would reduce the tensions between us. The problem is that she didn't want a dress, she wanted a whole day of shopping. As soon as we left the store, she started pointing at showcases, shoes, bags, accessories. She didn't say it casually, she said it with intention. They were all suggestions disguised as I like this or this would look nice on me, but with a tone that made it clear she expected me to pay. That's where I drew the line. I said, I already bought you the dress. We're the first one, and then think if you need more things. She looked at me as if I had said something offensive. Then her expression changed to open irritation. My God, when are you going to learn to value me? She said loudly, right there in the store. You're a cheapskate. That's how you have me as a girlfriend. How are you going to have me as a wife? You'll probably want me to buy food at cheap stores or at the market, right? I know it sounds absurd, but she said it seriously, as if buying at the market were a humiliation. I tried to stay calm. I reminded her that she already had the dress, that was the limit for now. Then she gave the worst possible response. Just use the card. Max it out. If necessary, it doesn't matter. You know how to pay later. I refused. Obviously, I refused, and that's when she exploded. I don't know how to describe what followed. It was like arguing with a 5-year-old child. She started crying in public in an exaggerated way, as if I had done something terrible. People were watching, some with curiosity, others with discomfort. She kept repeating phrases like, "It's just that you don't love me. I'm the only one who makes an effort in this relationship. Why are you like this with me? We're going to be poor forever." I felt completely exposed, not out of shame, but from the feeling that she was willing to destroy any limit to get what she wanted. It didn't matter the context, or the people around, or my image, or our relationship, just the impulse of the moment. The whole way home she kept crying. Not a silent or desperate cry, but a kind of incessant lament. Every sentence seemed designed to make me feel guilty, insufficient, responsible for her happiness or misfortune, until she finally said something that made me think in a way I never imagined I would come to consider. I'm not even excited about being your wife anymore. What kind of life awaits us with you counting every penny? I didn't answer. I couldn't. I felt that anything I said would only make everything worse. When we got home, she locked herself in the bathroom without a word. I stayed in the living room sitting in silence, trying to understand at what point our relationship transformed into that. I'm not perfect, nor do I pretend to be, but I always tried to be responsible, to have a vision for the future, to think of us as a team. I don't understand how that became a flaw. I don't understand how saving became being stingy. And I don't understand why Lydia believes that the value of our relationship depends exclusively on how much money I spend on her. Honestly, I'm mentally, emotionally, and financially exhausted. I don't want to make impulsive decisions, but I also don't want to continue living in an environment where I'm treated like an ATM or as an obstacle to her whims. Every day, I become more convinced that she's crossing lines that shouldn't be crossed in any relationship. I don't know if Lydia is going through something she hasn't told me, or if this is her true character and it just took a while to come out. But I'm starting to wonder if it really makes sense to stay here. Update 2. I didn't think I'd be writing an update so soon, but what happened in the last few hours completely changed the dynamic of this story. I'm still processing, but I think I need to put it in writing to understand it better. Lydia broke up with me just like that, suddenly, without a deep conversation, without any intention of fixing anything. She just took a suitcase, argued with me for a few minutes, and then left the apartment. But I'm going to explain everything from the beginning because the way it happened says a lot about the emotional state we were in and how our relationship was collapsing. The day started like any other. I went to work, reviewed plans, participated in a meeting, resolved pending issues on a construction project, and came home exhausted, but with the intention of talking to Lydia calmly. The last few weeks hadn't been easy, and I thought maybe we could find a middle ground if we talked calmly. When I entered the apartment, I noticed there was a strange silence. It wasn't the typical silence of someone resting or using their cell phone. It was a rigid, tense silence, as if the air were trapped. I left the keys on the table and went to the living room. Lydia was sitting on the sofa with her arms crossed, watching the turned-off television. Her expression wasn't one of sadness or tiredness. It was a mixture of irritation and determination. "We need to talk," she said without greeting, without even raising her voice. I sat in front of her, keeping a prudent distance. "Okay," I replied. "I also think we need to talk." She sighed as if she had spent hours preparing a speech she was about to deliver. "I can't go on like this, Elvis. I can't go on with someone so conformist, so limited in vision. I'm tired of this mediocre life." Her words were direct. There was no room for alternative interpretations. I was silent for a few seconds, trying to understand what part of everything she was saying had any real basis, or if she was simply projecting her frustrations onto me. "Mediocre," I repeated, "for wanting to save for a house, for wanting both of us to contribute fairly. She interrupted. "You earn more than me. It would be fair for you to contribute more. That's how a couple works. And besides, I've already told you I want to start pampering myself. I feel like I deserve it. I work a lot, Elvis, much more than you think." "I don't doubt you work," I said calmly. "But I work too, and I do it so we can both have stability. We can't spend as if money were infinite." She rolled her eyes, a gesture that had become a habit for her. "That's your problem. Always thinking about the future, about what might happen, about what we should save. You never think about me, about my desires, about what I want now. It's always you. Your calculations, your numbers." "They're not my numbers, Lydia," I replied. "Our life requires responsibility. If someone doesn't take care of their finances, they get into debt. It's that simple." She stood up abruptly and walked to the bedroom without saying anything. The silence returned, this time thicker. I stayed seated, waiting for her to come back to continue the conversation, but what returned wasn't an explanation, but a visual blow. She came out carrying a large, already closed suitcase, as if she had prepared it before I arrived. "What are you doing?" I asked, surprised. "I'm leaving," she replied without looking at me. "I don't want to stay here with you, no. In this so limited life." She took a few steps towards the door. I stood up instinctively. "Lydia, do you really want to end things like this without trying to fix anything?" She stopped. She finally looked at me, but her expression was cold. "I don't feel good with you anymore, and I think you're not happy either. You try hard to act as if this were a perfect relationship, but it's not. We're stuck. You're stubborn, and I'm tired of asking for basic things, and you always having an excuse to deny them." I felt a strange mixture of disbelief and tiredness. "Basic things?" I asked. "Going to very expensive restaurants all week, buying clothes without control, me paying 80% of the expenses so you can pamper yourself. Does that seem basic to you?" She didn't answer. She looked down for just a second, as if what I said had touched her, even minimally. But then she lifted her head, reaffirming her position. "If you can't give me the life I deserve, it makes no sense for us to stay together." Her final words were the closest thing to a stab, not because they hurt in the classic emotional sense, but because they made me understand exactly how she saw our relationship, as a transaction in which I had to invest more, always more, to keep her happy. I didn't want a relationship like that. I don't want to be the emotional, economic, and psychological support of someone who doesn't show reciprocity. But still, the way everything was happening seemed very abrupt to me. "Is there someone else?" I asked. I said it without insinuation. I just needed clarity. She frowned as if the question had offended her. "No, but even if there were, I don't think it's any of your business right now." That evasive and non-committal answer only increased my confusion. "Lydia, I don't understand what you hope to achieve with this." "I want a better life this way," she replied bluntly. "And you're not willing to give it to me." There was silence, a lot of silence, intense, heavy, almost suffocating. Then she took the suitcase again, opened the door, and took a few steps. Just before leaving, she turned. "I hope this separation helps you to reflect. Maybe that way you'll understand that sometimes you have to try harder if you want to keep someone like me." And she left. The door closed with a dry sound, but not enough to be considered a slam. It was a deliberate, calculated exit, as if she wanted me to feel the impact without fanfare. I stood there, looking at the closed door for several seconds. Then I sat back down on the sofa. I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I didn't get angry. I just felt something difficult to describe. A kind of uncomfortable emptiness, a non-natural calm. I don't know if it was shock, sadness, or simple emotional exhaustion, But the funny thing is that after a few minutes, the emptiness began to transform. What I felt next was relief. It wasn't joy, it wasn't absolute freedom, it was a strange relief, as if a huge weight had been lifted off me, a weight I hadn't realized how much it was sinking me until it disappeared. First, I felt it in my shoulders as if they were less tense, then in my chest, which didn't hurt as much as in the last arguments, and then in my head, which suddenly seemed lighter. It was as if my body were reacting physically to the absence of conflict, to the absence of demands, to the absence of someone who expected me to be a constant provider, without pause, without limits, without consideration for my own needs. I sat there for almost an hour without moving, reflecting on the last few months, and the more I thought, the clearer something became. Lydia didn't leave me because the relationship was bad. Lydia left me because she didn't get what she wanted. She confused my limits with a lack of love. She confused my responsible decisions with meanness. She confused my efforts to build a future with her with conformity. And when she couldn't mold me into what she wanted, she decided to leave to teach me something. But the truth is that the only thing she taught me was to recognize my own limits and to see that a relationship like that wasn't sustainable. I don't know what will happen in the next few days. I don't know if she'll try to contact me or if she'll stay distant. I don't know if she did it on impulse or if she really believes she deserves a different life with someone willing to spend without thinking. For now, I only know one thing. I breathe better since she left. I'm literally sad because I didn't want to reach this point, but I'm calmer than at any time in the last few weeks. Final update. A few days have passed since Lydia broke up with me like that, without prior notice, without a real conversation, without a minimal attempt at understanding. I still remember very well what that afternoon was like when I came back from work. 3 days later, I received a call from an unknown number. I answered without thinking, imagining it might be something from work, but it was her. Her first sentence was, "And what are you waiting for?" No greeting, no context, just a demand. Waiting for what? I asked, genuinely confused. Well, to apologize to me and come get me. You're not going to fight for me. It seems like you don't care about me at all. That moment revealed everything to me. Lydia didn't want to come back because she missed me or because she had reflected, but because she expected me to play the role she herself imagined. The man desperate to get her back, ready to beg. And since I didn't follow that script, now she was offended. I answered calmly, "No, Lydia, I'm not going to fight for you and I don't care about you anymore. You decided to end everything. It was the best for both of us. Goodbye." And I hung up. I didn't scream. I didn't say anything ironic. I didn't react on impulse. I just told the truth. And hanging up gave me such a deep peace that I stared at the phone for several seconds, as if I weren't processing what I had just done. It was the first time in a long time that I had taken a clear stance with her. But what was surprising was what happened that same afternoon. Someone knocked hard on the door, and when I opened it a crack, there was Lydia with her hair disheveled, swollen eyes, breathing fast. Still, she was still trying to maintain that superior attitude she used to manipulate. "You're so proud," she said as soon as she saw me. A simple "I'm sorry" would have been enough. "But don't worry, I'm going to help you. I'm going to get back with you, but with conditions." I stared at her for a few seconds. The person in front of me was the same one who had broken up with me a few days before with such coldness. I answered without raising my voice. "No, I don't want you to come back. I like my new peace." That sentence fell like a bucket of cold water. I saw it. Her eyes filled with tears instantly. It didn't hurt her to lose me. It hurt her that I wasn't begging. "That's enough, Elvis. Stop joking," she said, as if my reaction were a childish act. "I'm not joking," I replied. "I don't want you. You cause me stress. I'm working on a project, and I don't want to waste time. Please, leave." She tried to push the door to get in, but I held it firmly, without pushing her, without shouting, without anything aggressive. I simply didn't let her pass. In that instant she broke. Her shoulders slumped. Her expression changed from rage to a sadness I had never seen in her before. She looked at me as if she had just realized something she had never imagined, that I was no longer willing to be her emotional life raft. Without saying anything more, she covered her mouth, burst into tears, and ran down the stairs. I heard the echo of her steps as she went down, although for a moment I felt the urge to follow her. Something inside me stopped me. I knew that if I ran after her, everything would be the same as before. The following days were an avalanche of messages, photos, and emails. From the next morning, she started sending me pictures of us too, trips, anniversaries, walks, selfies. Along with each photo, she wrote phrases like, "I remember when you loved me." "Are you throwing years of a relationship in the trash? Are you really going to leave me like this?" I answered only once. "Lydia, you broke up with me. I don't want anything. I need you to respect my decision." Her response was a mixture of victimization and rage. "Don't say it was my decision. You pushed me to this. I don't want to fix things. Just tell me what to do." I said no, to stop writing to me, and since she didn't stop, I had to block her. That didn't stop her. She started calling me from numbers I didn't know. On the fifth call, I answered thinking it was from work. It was her crying. "Don't block me, please. Talk to me. I don't want to be alone. I need you." That sentence confirmed what I had been feeling for days. Lydia wasn't looking for me out of love, but out of fear. She couldn't stand being alone. She didn't accept not having control. I hung up and blocked that number too. The calls continued for days. Messages from new numbers, emails straight to the spam folder, voice notes crying, others complaining, others trying to seem calm, even messages like, "I know you're reading this, answer me." But there was nothing left to answer. Each of her attempts only reinforced the idea that the relationship had been an emotional trap that I normalized for a long time. And now, looking at it from the outside, I couldn't believe how much I had tolerated. As the days went by, I started to feel something I hadn't felt with her for a long time. Peace. I'm not saying there aren't moments of nostalgia. Of course there are. Ending a relationship, even a harmful one, leaves a void, but it's a void that doesn't hurt. A space that seems breathable, like when you remove a very heavy piece of furniture from a room and you can finally walk without tripping. What surprises me the most is realizing that Lydia isn't in love with me. She's in love with the role I played. The man who supported her when she couldn't handle her own life. The one who always gave in. The one who gave more. The one who made her feel important when she didn't feel good enough. But that's not love, it's dependence. And I was getting lost in the middle of it without realizing it. I know it sounds harsh, but the truth is I don't want to repeat this story. I don't want to walk on glass again. I don't want to measure my words to avoid pointless arguments. I don't want to be responsible for her emotional stability. And although continuing to block numbers and emails may seem uncomfortable, I'm firm on one thing. I'm not going back. I don't miss what she and I were. I only miss the idea of what I thought we were. Today I'm getting my life back, my projects and my peace of mind. I still have a lot to process. But I know the worst is over, and I know Lydia will keep trying to contact me until she finally accepts reality, but I'm not there anymore. I no longer feel the urge to rescue her, nor to justify her behavior, nor to think that with time she'll get better. It's not my responsibility to heal something she herself doesn't want to recognize. Sometimes losing a person is the only way to find yourself. And as hard as it may seem, that's exactly what happened to me. Reddit comment for Lydia with love. He's already gone.